Hi, everybody. I'm Stacy.
And I'm her daughter, Mickey.
And welcome to KiddieNomics. Welcome to another fun-filled Friday of KiddieNomics. We are so happy that everybody could join us today on a Friday. We're gonna start off by just saying I hope everybody had a good, full first week of school. This is a good getting back into the swing of things, and getting up in the mornings and getting, if you're virtual or in person, to get ready and get to school. So this is a full week of school. Hi, Madeline. How are you? All right. So let me start off by, as usual, sharing my screen. Okay. And then we will get right into it. Here we go. Okay, KiddieNomics. All right. So first of all, we'd like to always thank the returning kiddies that are here week after week with us. We are so glad that you can make it back to KiddieNomics. And of course, we welcome all of the new kiddies that have registered for KiddieNomics this week. Welcome, welcome, welcome. If you put into the chat box, it's your first time, the kids will welcome you in the chat box. We are super friendly in our KiddieNomics community, so we always like to keep it light and happy and bright in our KiddieNomics community, okay? So welcome if this is your first time on KiddieNomics. All right, so let's tell you what is KiddieNomics about, right? KiddieNomics will help kids ages 8 to about 13 to develop a healthy relationship towards financial literacy, helping to start kids off on the right path to have a successful financial future. That's what we want for you. That's what we want for you. That's what we want for everybody out there, right? We want everybody to have a very, very successful financial future. And to do that, financial literacy is key, right? So that's why we are here week after week, to build that knowledge that you guys all have, all right? So let's get through to some housekeeping items before we get into our uber special guest today, because I'm gonna say I've been super excited about our guest and what she has created. And I tell everybody about what she has created because I think it's absolutely phenomenal. So I'm so happy to have her on KiddieNomics today. But before we start, let me tell you about our housekeeping items. Hey, wait a minute, I didn't do roll call. I forgot roll call. All right, okay, first of all, let's do roll call and then I'll do the housekeeping items. Okay, so in the chat box, everybody, wait, where's my chat box? Hold on. Okay, here we go. Chat box. Chat box. I just met my new neighbor. Oh, hi, Madeline. You just met your new neighbor? That's super awesome. I hope they're really nice. All right, so in the chat box, I would like everybody to tell me, where are they joining us from today? Which country are you joining us from today? So let's see. Brielle says Canada. Madeline, Canada. Simon says Canada. Who else? You guys are super quiet. Who else? Micah. Hi, Micah from England. How are you? Did you start back school already? You should have, right? I think so. It's my birthday. Oh, it's your birthday. Happy birthday, Ayomi. That's so awesome. Happy birthday. Everybody wish him happy birthday in the chat box. Happy birthday to you.
Happy birthday.
Mashida, you are from Canada. That's awesome. Thank you for joining today. All right, let me close this and get it out of the way. Simon says happy birthday. Okay, let's move this out of the way. All right. Sounds good. All right, so as I said, thank you everybody, but Mickey, where are you joining us from today?
First time you haven't forgotten that.
I know, first time I usually forget about Mickey. She's sitting right beside me. Where are you joining us from today?
A door.
You're joining us from a door? Okay, that's a new one. You got to think of new anime stuff to say, I guess.
I know. I haven't watched something in a while.
Oh, that's why. Okay. All right. So next week, maybe you'll have something else. Maybe? All right, cool. All right. Thanks, everybody, for participating in the chat box. and letting us know what country you're joining us from. So let me get into some housekeeping items. Please remember that every KiddieNomics webinar is recorded. So yes, we're recording this one, but please keep in mind, we cannot see or hear any of you kids out there. So if you do want to communicate, you have to communicate in the chat box, and I monitor the chat box to ask and answer any questions that you may have to our special guests, or any questions you may have for myself. Okay, so it's always in the chat box. Always remember that we like to keep it a very safe community here on KiddieNomics. So please always remember that we don't ever want to see any personal information, right? Remember that webinar that we had about online money smarts, and to keep your personal information private. So if you did miss that one, always go back to our YouTube channel and you can check that one out. But so we never want to see any phone numbers or email addresses or personal addresses or anything like that, or your ages, okay? I'll ask you, what country you're joining us from. And if it's your birthday, we love to do birthday shout outs, but we never want to know how old you guys are, okay? Okay, so no sharing any personal information in the chat box, okay? And of course, please, everybody, respect everybody in the chat box. We have kids on here that are, as young as maybe 8 or younger, and sometimes they're older than 13 and older, okay? So there's gonna be a wide range of questions, and sometimes you may not understand something. So I'll always ask, did you understand? And if you don't, that's okay. We will keep on going until you kind of get it, okay? All right, so that is it for the housekeeping items. Okay, so today, I am super happy to have on Miss Karen Holland. Because she is the founder of giftingsense.org. And so Gifting Sense is a phenomenal site. And I just absolutely love everything that she is doing to help to help push financial literacy forward, especially for kids. So we are super happy to have her on today. So let's tell you all about Gifting Sense, and we're going to get into it with Miss Karen today. So Gifting Sense helps kids get ready for all the personal finance decisions that lie in their future, by having them more carefully consider what they might like to receive for an upcoming birthday or holiday gift or back to school wish list item, which teaches them how to think before they buy. So this is for all of you kids that are awesome negotiators, and you're always asking your parents for something, right? And they're like, why? Why do you need this? This is a great tool that you're going to be able to use to really answer that question. Do you really need it?
Yes.
Do you? Mickey says yes. Do you really need it? Yes. So we're going to use Gifting Sense to truly determine if that is something that you truly need. So I'm going to stop my share and welcome Miss Karen. Hi, Miss Karen.
Hi, Stacy. Hi, Mickey. Thank you so much for your kind words. I really
appreciate it. Applause.
Okay, I'm going to share my screen, and we're going to get going. So, right to the beginning. Welcome. I'm so excited that you're all here today. We're going to do something really fun. We're going to learn how to think before we buy and get what we really want, will use, and appreciate for an upcoming holiday or birthday gift. It's a lot easier than you think. And I want everyone to relax, shoulders down out of your ears. Thinking before buying, being financially responsible does not mean you never get to buy anything fun. It just means that you plan your spending in order to avoid being disappointed, and just as importantly, help protect the planet. Okay, here we go. So Gifting Sense is a free service. It's dedicated to helping kids get ready for all of the financial decisions that lie in their future. You don't have to register. You don't have to log in. There's no paywall. All you have to do is type giftingsense.org into your browser. When you see our pretty green blue cloud, because we're trying to help people's dreams come true, you click on Get Started, and you can start calculating the DIM score for a possible purchase. My goal today is very simple. I just want everyone who's watching to feel comfortable and confident about figuring out if something they're thinking of asking for or buying themselves makes sense for them and their family at this moment in time. If you know how to do that, you'll be able to politely ask for the birthday and holiday gifts that you really want, will use, and appreciate. It's a free and safe tool. We've already gone over that. But the big thing here is that in 3 minutes, you get to prepare to have a very productive conversation with your mom and dad about a possible purchase. And preparing is key. Has anybody ever asked for something without even knowing how much it cost?
Have you ever asked for something without knowing how much
Mickey, no!
Mickey has. Let's ask the kids in the chat. Have you ever asked your parents for something before you even knew the cost of what it is? Let me see the answers in the chat. Yeah, Farah says yes. It can't be just Farah. I'm sure there's other ones in there, out there actually, that you guys have asked your parents for something before you even knew what it costs. Micah says yes. Simon says, yep, absolutely. Ronell says yes. Yeah, I think you guys all have asked for something without even knowing the cost of it, right?
Right. Okay, life is more complicated than ever, and not just because of the pandemic, right? Most parents are really busy working hard to make sure that their families have a place to live and food to eat and clothes to wear and maybe some extra activities to round out going to school and working. And they're doing all of that in addition to their job, which allows them to get paid and pay for everything. So, you know, families are busy, right? Moms and dads are busy, kids are busy. At the same time, social media is inviting what I call unfavorable comparisons. So on social media, we have these very carefully prepared images and stories. And somehow we know that movies aren't real, right? Like when we see a movie star on the screen, we're like, okay, we know that she had somebody blow her hair out and do her makeup, and you know, she might have exercised really hard for the 2 months before she was in that movie. But somehow we haven't yet extended that understanding to social media. So we know that movies aren't real, but we haven't quite gotten to the point where Instagram isn't real. And, you know, I'm here to tell you, everybody has to make trade-offs and choices, okay? There is no family that can just buy whatever they want all the time. And naturally, when we spend money on one thing, we have less money for something else. So one of the goals that I have in today's workshop is to help you understand that all families talk about money, all families manage scarcity in some form or fashion. Add to that, yes.
Hi, Miss Karen. Can you tell us what the scarcity means? And does everybody understand? Let me know in the chat box what Miss Karen is saying. But if you can let us know, Miss Karen, what does scarcity mean?
So scarcity is the opposite of a lot, right? So if you can have a lot of food, or you can have not enough food, and so the food is scarce.
Perfect.
Is that a good description?
Yep. Yeah. Let me know in the chat box, everybody. Let me know. Oh, you guys have been quiet since we came back. Yep, says Simon.
Okay. And then the other thing that I have found, I've been visiting schools and talking to kids about thinking before buying for about 6 years now. And lots of times I ask kids where money comes from, and I get some really interesting answers. Where do you guys think money comes from?
Mickey, where does money come from?
Trees, because money is made out of paper, and paper is made out of trees.
Simon agrees with you, because Simon says trees too.
Okay, well, actually, money doesn't come from trees. It used to be made of paper, but now it's made of a space-age polymer, a very special plastic. It's actually really interesting. If you ever get the chance to tour a mint, a national mint, it's very interesting to see how money is made. But the quick answer is that money comes from people working at a job, and then they get paid for doing their work. And what we find with financial technology, or people not paying in actual physical dollars and cents with currency, is that sometimes kids are confusing payment methods, so credit cards, debit cards, Apple Pay, with the funding. And money comes from your parents working hard, okay? It's not the magic plastic card. It may look like your mom and dad have a magic plastic card because they use it to get everything from, ice cream to a tank of gas, but they work very hard and then they get paid normally twice a month. Their employer puts their pay into their bank account. And because they have that money, they can use those payment methods. So you can see why it's pretty easy to develop poor spending habits in this day and age. And for kids, we define a poor spending habit as asking for something without even knowing how much it costs or how much is involved in actually making that purchase, or if you'll really even use and appreciate it. So we think of ourselves as a tiny little speed bump to slow down the pace at which kids are making consumer decisions, asking for things or buying for things. You're going to see it really doesn't take very long, but it helps you make sure that what you're asking for is something you'll really use and appreciate. And it's also very important to understand the full value of something before you ask for it. Now, the silver lining to this whole thing is when you're prepared and you give your parents all the information they need to make a decision and you use your manners, things tend to go your way. We all only have so much energy. There is a financial psychologist named Dr. Moira Summers. I think she's a genius. I think Moira Summers should get a Nobel Peace Prize, not for creating peace between countries, but for creating peace between people. She's come up with this mental energy pie chart, and it shows all the places that our energy goes. Doesn't matter if you're an 8-year-old in the second grade or a 65-year-old grandparent. Every day, we are all learning new things, directing our attention to what's crossing our path. Maybe we're driving and we see a squirrel run out, making decisions, managing pain and stress, controlling our emotions, completing everyday chores, resisting temptations. We're all doing these things. Do you guys all recognize that your day is composed of all of these activities? You might describe it differently, but that's where we spend our time, right? And like all pies, the mental energy pie chart does not get bigger just because more people come for dinner. That's not what happens, right? So more people at the table, less pie. In this mental energy pie chart, we're spending an equal amount of our energy in each one of those 8 areas. But look what happens when we think before we buy. TBB stands for think before we buy. All of a sudden, you have to spend less time making decisions, resisting temptation, controlling emotions, and you've got more time for the things that most people would rather do. So for kids, you'd rather be in school, learning new stuff, seeing your friends, and your parents would rather be completing their everyday tasks, which are going to work and then looking after their family. So this is the first reason why thinking before buying is so important. In other words, it frees up energy for more fun, right? Pardon?
I was like, yes, it can all free up more energy.
Yes, when kids ask for things after they've thought before they bought, the parent, or if they ask for things without thinking before buying, their parent has to ask them all the questions that they haven't already answered. How much is it? Is it in stock at the store? If you're asking to go to the fair or the movie theater, well, what time does it start? Where is it? How are you going to get there? Is there safe transportation? Are you willing to spend some of your own money? So if you don't answer all of those questions for your parents, you're making them take the time and energy to answer them. And then sometimes kids don't understand and they get a little frustrated, and then their parents have to manage that frustration. And it all adds up to this very much smaller green section of the pie and unhappiness, right? However, when you think before you buy, and you're going to see when we go to Gifting Sense, you're actually going to get a PDF summary of all the math and thinking that you've done, and you can print it off or forward it via email. Decision-making is so much easier because the information is complete. There's less frustration all around. Imagine, Mickey, if you asked your mom for something that you really wanted, and the first thing she said to you was, wow, thanks for being so organized. Wouldn't that be nice?
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be nice?
Wouldn't that be nice?
But none of
Kids tend to understand the decision,
Says
and
that
it
never
leads-
happens.
it's going to happen from this point forward.
that. Yeah, I get it.
So there's a lot more time for the things that we'd rather be doing. Does this make sense to everyone?
Let's ask the
Yeah.
kids in the chat box. Does this make sense? Does everybody understand?
Yeah.
Why we should think before we buy and how to organize? And we're going to learn how to organize that. So Madeline says yes. Micah says yes. Woohoo! Good job. Good. Okay. Yay! 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 The kids are all getting it.
Okay, and as I mentioned at the beginning of our segment, good news, thinking before buying isn't hard. You don't have to be a math whiz. All you have to do is get into the habit of asking yourself a few simple questions before you buy something or ask someone else to buy it. And really, you're just doing what your parents already do. When your parents buy something, they think to themselves, you know, how often will I wear this? What's the cost per use? Can someone else in the family use it when the person we're buying, say it's soccer cleats? If Mickey uses the soccer cleats, will they be available for a younger sibling at some point in time? And I repeat, thinking before buying does not mean you never get anything done. It just means that you plan your spending to avoid being disappointed and protect the planet. Because if you only buy things that you really love, you use them to the end of their natural life cycle, and then where don't they end up?
In the landfill.
In the landfill. Exactly. Now, everybody here has a birthday, right? Everybody's got a birthday?
Yes.
Yes. Have any of you ever received a birthday gift that wasn't quite what you were hoping for?
Let's see. Let's ask the kids. Have you guys ever gotten a birthday gift that you didn't really like?
Yeah.
Madeline says yes, a lot. Really? Oh no.
Madeline, I've got good news for you. That's about to change, and your parents are going to be happy about it. Because guess what? Your parents and your grandparents and your aunts and uncles, they really like you. They don't want to spend their time and money buying gifts that don't get worn or used or never appreciated. They just know that they want to celebrate your birthday or a winter holiday, or maybe you're going on a special trip. Sometimes what happens is, as kids get older, they really want things that come with a price tag that is bigger than what grandparents or extended family members normally spend. So, you know, they don't know what you really want, or they know what you want, but it's a little outside of their budget. So the other thing that you're going to be able to do is use that PDF, and you can go out to everybody who normally celebrates with you and say, listen, you know, I really like Air Jordans or hockey skates. I know they're expensive, but look at how much I'm going to use them. And in fact, these mean so much to me. I'd rather get this one gift from my whole family than a bunch of stuff that I'm probably not going to use or wear. And that's better for the planet. It's better for you, but it's also better for your family. So let's learn about DIM scores. DIM scores, the DIMS stands for doesn't make sense score, are a number between 1 and 10, and they help a young person understand if a possible purchase might make sense before they ask for it. They also help kids understand if a possible purchase is more of a want, the DIM score 1 to 6, or a need, DIM score 7 to 10. Now, you guys have probably had a lot of conversation at home, in school, around the supper table this past year about wants versus needs, right? During the pandemic. Sound familiar?
Is that familiar, Michaela? Wants versus needs? Mickey says yes. Let's ask the kids in the chat box. Have you guys had conversations during the pandemic? Yes, says Simon. Anybody else? Yeah. Yes, says Micah. Awesome. Yeah, so I'm sure your parents have all talked to you about different things, because we've been in it for quite a number of months now, right? So, and things have changed.
I mean, remember there was a long period of time where you could not get wants. You just couldn't get them, right? We were only able to get needs because we were trying to keep people safe. So we're going to take thinking before buying for a test drive. You're going to see how straightforward it is. So all you have to do is type gifting sense into your browser. Could be Chrome or a Safari, and it works on any device. So you can be on an iPad, a phone, a laptop, a desktop. And when you type gifting sense into your browser, you'll see we're the first thing that comes up. And when you see that cloud, you know you're in the right spot. And then you just click on the Get Started button. So you see there's two silos because we tend to want two things in life, either items, things, or experiences. Sometimes we want to go on a trip or go to a basketball game, a professional sporting event, or a concert. So I'm just going to whip through this so that you guys can see the screens and understand what some of the questions look like. But don't worry, you're all going to get a chance to use the DIM score calculator and calculate the DIM score for things that you might like to receive for upcoming birthday or holiday gifts. And then we're going to get back together on the 8th of October and talk about what you learned. And I love those conversations because kids always learn a lot and it's really fun. So today I'm just going to calculate the DIM score for an item that I know the vast majority of school age kids have, and that is a backpack. And it's very important, if possible, to put an actual image, a photograph of what it is you're after into this digital worksheet. You'll see why at the end, but we found especially for grandparents and aunts and uncles who don't live in the same town as you, you've gone to all this work, you've cleared it with your parents, you want to ask them for purple rain boots. And your poor grandma and grandpa, they go to the store and there's 4 pairs of purple rain boots. So have you all heard that old saying, a picture's worth 1,000 words? Even if your grandparents aren't tech savvy seniors, they can take this PDF summary and there's the little picture right there. And they're like, yep, that's the right purple rain boots. We've got it. So I know from experience that this backpack costs $64.99. If you don't know how much it costs, any ideas as to how you can figure out the price? Nikki.
Go back on the website that you found it on and look at the price.
Right, we can Google it. Now, in today's world of online shopping, used to be when online shopping started, you always had to spend quite a bit of money on shipping. But nowadays, if you make your purchases in advance, shipping is almost always free, right? You really only have to pay for shipping if you're really in a bind and you need it, within a couple of days. So of course, because we're financially literate kids, we are thinking in advance and we're going to make sure that we don't have to pay for shipping. Sales tax. Anybody know what sales tax is?
Oh, that's a good question. We have talked about taxes on KiddieNomics. So let's go to the chat box. Farah says no. Mickey, do you know what sales tax is?
It's when you're selling taxes for sale.
When you're selling taxes for sale.
Okay, not exactly.
Madeline says
So,
tax money for government. Woohoo,
right.
Madeline.
Here's another thing, and I think, Stacy, we're going to put this in the link, right? There is a glossary. We have a gifting sense glossary, and it explains to you what sales tax, shipping, and duty are. So if you go to a store with your mom or dad, you might notice, let's say a t-shirt costs $9.99. The price tag on it is $9.99. And then in the province of Ontario, you go up to the cash register to pay for it, and all of a sudden you need another $1.30. And that extra $1.30, that 13% is sales tax. And it's an amount that the government charges, but the stores collect. And they collect all of that money and they give it to the government. And then the government uses it to do things like build schools, hospitals, and roads. So everywhere there is sales tax, and there's a rolling bar menu. You can click where you live. And if you don't live in Canada and the USA, there's a custom sales tax field. Okay, a backpack we're going to use several times a month. In my experience, most kids have the same backpack for a couple of years, and then it sort of wears out and gets ratty. So we're going to say we're going to use it 2 years in a row. We use it every day for school, 10 months of the year. We use it 5 days of the week. So here's the first summary screen that you would see when calculating the DIM score. It gives you the price, add sales tax. We're careful shoppers, so we're not paying for shipping. So the total cost is $73.44. If we use that backpack for 2 years, 10 months of the year, 5 days of the week, chances are you'll use it more than that. If you go see your friends on the weekend, you'll use the same backpack, right? 433 uses. So every day you're taking that backpack to school, it's costing you
17 cents.
17 cents. Perfect. And now we're going to answer a few more questions just to help us understand, now that we know the full value of the possible purchase, does it make sense for our family and ourselves at this moment? So you'll see a backpack. It's not sports equipment. It's not clothing. So we put it into the other category. If you're ever calculating the DIM score and you don't understand a question, you can click on one of these Learn More buttons and it will give you a little more information. So this is not that kind of purchase. We don't need anything else to make a backpack work. But for example, if you get a phone, you need a case, right? And case adds cost. Is it replacing something that's worn out? Yes, right? Our old backpack is worn out. That's why we're getting a new one. Okay, so normally backpacks they've been well used, so they can't be sold or donated to charity. Have you guys had any conversations over the last year about the importance of trying to buy local?
We have. How about the kids online?
Wait, what was the question again?
Did we talk about buying things locally or made in Canada? Have you guys had these discussions with your parents about buying things locally, supporting local businesses, local restaurants, local clothing stores?
Yes.
Have you guys had those conversations?
Oh yeah, I was gonna say one spot lemonade.
Yes, that's supporting local. Anybody?
It's not always possible. It's not always possible, but it's a nice idea. I mean, it really reduces the carbon footprint, right? If you can buy something that was made 30 minutes away versus the other side of the planet. So I know that this is a Burton knapsack and I know it was made in Canada and the USA, but I am buying it online, so I'm not buying it from a local store. Aha, question number 7. We have a lot of conversation when we're conducting workshops in schools with question number 7. Have you ever had the experience of wanting to buy something and your parents say, well, I'll tell you what, I'll split it with you. Or will you put some of your babysitting money or birthday money in it?
Has that happened where I said, yes, you can have it, but you're paying for some of it?
Oh yes. So basically what happens is that
No, you said yes.
yeah.
Okay.
Yes, what about the kids online? Have you guys tried to purchase, wanted something and your parents have said, hey, we can get it, but you guys will have to contribute some of your own money?
But don't you just pay for it and after you tell me that I have to pay you back?
Yes, depend, because if you don't have the money right away, yes. Madeline says yes. Farah says no. That's okay. That's awesome. Anybody else? Has your parents ever said, but they say to give us the full amount? So you're paying for it all, not just a partial payment. Okay.
Okay. In my experience, when you're willing to spend some of your own money, that is a very straightforward way to impress upon your parents how much this purchase means to you, right? When you've got some skin in the game. We all need to know what the return policy and the warranty are for purchases. So the return policy is the store's rules for what will happen if you get something home and decide you don't like it or it doesn't work the way you thought it would. And a warranty are the manufacturer's rules. So again, because we're financially literate consumers, we're always going to make sure that we know the return policy and the warranty. If you don't, look what happens. You should, right? And the more expensive an item it is, the more important it is to understand what the return policy and the warranty are. I actually happen to know that Burton says if the zipper or the straps on their knapsacks fail within 6 months, you can send it back to them and they'll replace it. And then question number 10. I'm sure you guys have had lots of conversations again around the supper table and in school over the last couple of years about how important it is to be very careful about whatever you put on the internet, right? We want to be very careful. So sometimes we buy something because we like its color, or we like the design, or we like the way a song sounds, but we're not paying really careful attention to maybe a symbol or words on the t-shirt or a backpack. And so we just want to make sure that whatever you buy is age appropriate and safe and tells the rest of the world what you want them to know about you. So my favorite example is, if you don't like broccoli, chances are you're not going to a broccoli festival, right? Because if you go to a broccoli festival, people are going to see you there. They might see you on Instagram and go, hey, I had no idea Mickey loves broccoli. Next time she comes for dinner, I got to make sure we have a mountain of that stuff on the supper table, right? So you always want to make sure that whatever it is you're buying tells people what you want them to know about you. So look, here we've done pretty well. A backpack is a pretty straightforward purchase for most children and families. Here's the second summary screen you're going to see. It gives you the total cost, your doesn't make sense score, and your cost per use. But this is where it gets interesting for you guys. You can generate this PDF summary. It's got all the math and all the questions you answered, both the question and the answer. The other thing that you can do is you can email this PDF summary. So say your aunt said to your mom, well, I know Susan's birthday is coming up. What is it she'd really like for her birthday? Well, we can go in. It's KiddieNomics 101, right, Stacy?
Yes. Yeah.
KiddieNomics 101 at gmail.com. And I'm going to say that Nikki is sending it, and we'll send it from our email address. Okay, now, trust me on this. I'm kind of old. If you use your manners and speak in full sentences, things will always go better. So, dear mom, I know Aunt should be capitalized. Aunt Susan asked you what I wanted for my birthday. I would love a new backpack. As she can see below, I will use it a lot. Can we talk? Love. Mickey, look how easy that is. Gone.
I'm gonna have to start
That
doing
is,
that.
yeah. Oh, Mickey says she's going to have to start doing that. Oh.
Perfect. That's what we like. Okay, so we took thinking before buying for a test drive. We calculated the DIM score for a typical wish list item. You guys can all go on the site and calculate the DIM score. In fact, we'll be really disappointed if you don't for October 8th. Do you now understand how DIM scores can help families avoid unpleasantness, reduce waste, and help protect the planet?
Mickey says yes. Let me see.
Right?
Let's see. In the chat box, let us know. Does this DIM score make sense? And will you guys use it?
Yeah.
Right? Mickey says yes, she's definitely using it. Let me know in the chat box. You guys are so quiet.
Well, I can tell you again from personal experience, think about if you're at work and you've thought of a new tool that could make your job and everybody else's job easier. And you want to go to your boss and ask him if you can buy that new tool for your group at work. Now, can you go and make that request without knowing how much it costs, without knowing what's involved in the purchase? Do you have to travel out of province or out of state? How long will it take? Do you have to change anything else at work to be able to use this tool? there's no way you would ask for that new tool unless you could answer all of those questions, right? And then you would very politely be, and you'd be very organized, and you would say, hey, Rick, you know what? I just found out about this new rotary cutter. I think it's going to help us really cut down on waste. And, you know, it's $300. And I think we could get it here as early as next week. And we really wouldn't have to change anything. It would just help us increase our output. Like that would go well, right? As opposed to, I hate these scissors. What's he supposed to do with that?
Exactly.
Right? So throw yourself a bone and get organized so that you can get the result that you want. Reducing waste, I promise you, people are not leaving work, you know, taking a subway across town, buying something, wrapping it, driving over to your house on a Saturday or a Sunday to go to a birthday party, hoping that they've bought you earrings you will never wear, gloves you don't want, a book you won't read, music you don't like, a gift card from a store you never shop at. They don't want to disappoint you. So now you have a way to very graciously and politely let them know what it is you'll use and appreciate. And if it's expensive, then you can send that email to a number of people. And trust us, every aunt and uncle and grandparent that we talked to said they'd way rather put $20 towards something that you'll actually use and appreciate than something that just ends up in a landfill.
Absolutely.
Right? We had this conversation. If you don't think before buying, there's less time for the things you want to do and your parents. And if you think before you buy, then there's more time for everybody to do the things in life that they enjoy. And newsflash, things are going to go your way. How do you calculate the doesn't make sense score? Remember, it's very straightforward. You just type gifting sense, Gifting SEN, it's this kind of sense, into any device that has access to the internet. When you see that cloud, you know you're in the right spot. Click on get started and just start answering questions. Now, lots of times you're going to go through this process and you're not going to generate a doesn't make sense score of 8 or better. Don't worry. That doesn't mean that you can't still ask for something. It doesn't mean you can't still have a conversation with your parents, but that's just one more way that we're saying, really think about this. Or, you know, does it really make sense for you and your family right now? I will tell you that kids are often very surprised to see how quickly their parents and extended family members are willing to get behind a request when it's backed by evidence of thought. But being polite and prepared is always a great strategy. It really works. It's not just a slogan. So do you now feel that DIM scores can help you think before you buy, make sure you'll only ask for things that you'll really use and appreciate, help your whole family stop wasting time and money buying things that aren't going to be used, have relaxed conversations about money? You know, lots of times what we hear is what families really enjoy about the DIM score calculator, our worksheet, is that it lets them have a conversation without high emotion, or, you know, because it's happening in advance. You know, sometimes we're at a store with our mom and dad and it's like 5 to 9 and, you know, we're at the mall and our store is closing in 5 minutes and we really want a skirt to wear to the dance the next day. And, you know, you don't know what your mom's been up against all day long and she doesn't know how much it is and you don't have time to try it on and she doesn't want to have to take it back. All of that goes away because now you're doing all of the work in advance, right? And then you're sending this to her and saying, look, there's this skirt or boots or jeans, whatever it is. I really like them. This event's coming up. I'll put some of my own money towards it. Grandma and grandpa said they'd help me pay for it with my birthday money. Like, it's all going to work in your favor. And it also does this thing called building MPE, money, privilege, empathy. Have any of you ever had the conversation at home about, you know, sometimes it's like, well, back when I was in school 1,000 years ago, right? You've had that conversation, Mickey?
We always have to.
You always have that conversation. Well, the thing is, you know, your parents are living their life and they're thinking like, what? $200 for running shoes? We used to get running shoes for $9.99, right? Like, that's crazy. And then you think like, oh, wow, I mean, I used to work at the Dairy Queen and I only made $3.15. So even the $9.99 running shoes, it took me 3 hours of serving ice cream to pay for them. But what happens is when you walk down memory lane together, your parents also remember the first time they went to a sporting event, the first time they went to a concert, the first time they took public transportation by themselves. And they're like, I remember how excited I was to be doing that or going there or getting my, first piece of technology. I mean, most parents today, when we went to school, there wasn't technology. We did everything on paper and pencil, but it takes them back and they remember those things and it makes them empathetic towards your request. So those conversations, they yield all sorts of benefit, not just getting whatever it is that you want. If you don't feel comfortable about any of this, if you don't understand it, please ask Stacy or Mickey or send us an email. The other thing that we like is kids in lots of places are now starting to say to themselves, what's the DIM score? So let's say you're at a store and you don't have a phone with internet access. You don't have time to whip through the worksheet and actually calculate the DIM score. We find just sort of like either saying aloud or in your mind's eye, if you don't want to say it out loud, you're standing in the checkout, what's the DIM score on this? It's just a quick little reminder. Am I really going to use and appreciate it? Is it worth the trade-off? Because if I buy this today, I won't have that money to buy something else tomorrow. Or is it just going to end up in a landfill? Just that quick little reminder can sometimes get the job done. So, and if you think that your friend or your sibling or even a parent, I mean, parents kind of love it actually when their children come up with a great idea because they're like, hey, actually, you know what? That's kind of a great idea. I wish I'd thought of that. You can say to them like, geez, what's the DIM score? Are you really going to use and appreciate that? Do you really think it's worth it? Now, remember, it's not that we don't ever want to buy anything fun. I mean, what would life be if we didn't have ice cream or fun jeans or running shoes that you can't really wear in the rain? You just want to make sure that you look after your needs before you purchase wants. And we're a way to help you do that. So I thank you very much for your time today. I really look forward to seeing you next month.
Yes.
That's it.
Well, thank you, Miss Karen. A big KiddieNomics round of applause. I have a couple of questions though, Miss Karen.
Please.
And I can see if in the chat box, does any of the kids have any questions for Miss Karen? Oh, Mickey has a question before I get to mine. Go ahead.
So what if you like did your toys and you also ask your parents nicely and they say no? Do you just take their money and run and then
What if you ask for something after having gone through this process and your parents still say no?
Yeah.
Well, look, your parents really love you. I mean, I say to kids all the time, newsflash, your parents kind of dig you. They actually really want you to be happy. So if you're really organized and the purchase in question really means a lot to you, chances are it might take more time than you want. Like maybe it takes 6 months, or maybe they're saying, well, wait till the end of the summer or wait for a winter holiday. But chances are they're going to work with you. If they say no, there's got to be a really good reason. I mean, honestly, you're not going to get a high DIM score if something really doesn't make sense. So we're setting you up for success, not failure. Chances are you're not going to have a PDF summary that lets you go to them and ask for something that they're going to say no to, because what we're trying to do is make sure you only ask for things that you'll really use and appreciate and make sense. Does that answer make sense?
Yeah.
I often say to kids, I don't know if you've heard this phrase before, when we get enough distance in life to take a backward glance, right? You're sort of like, oh, you get to look over your shoulder. And in the moment, like a decision just didn't make sense or you didn't really understand what was happening, but you get enough distance to take a backward glance and you're like, ugh, what was I thinking? So, Mickey, you're in grade 6?
Yeah.
Okay, so can you think about something that you might have asked to do when you were in grade 3 or 4 and your mom and dad were like, no. And at the time you were like, what? I can't believe they're not going to let me take the subway to the Eaton Center all by myself. But now, because you're 2 years older and smarter, you're like, of course they were never going to let me do that, right? I've not got enough distance to take a backward glance. That's what's going to happen if you ask for something that you really want and they say no. I can almost guarantee, give yourself a couple of years, that answer is going to make a lot more sense.
She lets me walk home now.
Right, because you're old enough and she doesn't have to worry. But of course, number one in mom's mind all the time is your well-being, your safety and your well-being, right?
Exactly. So when you asked in what, grade 3, which she happened to do, I was like, no. But now you're in grade 6, so that's a whole other matter.
Right.
Yes, and she always walks with a friend. So I feel comfortable. So I have a question, Miss Karen. What happens when you get a dim score that's lower than 8? So it's 5 to 7 or whatever that score is, right?
Okay, so when we're back together in October, we can purposefully answer the questions on the worksheet to generate a low score. And you'll see that it's not that we still generate the summary, you still go through the process. It does not say that your possible purchase is recommended. That doesn't mean that you can't print off that summary. It doesn't mean that you can't forward it. We also have a tell me why button. And you can click on that button, and then depending on whether or not you've calculated the doesn't make sense score for an item or an experience, it walks you through ways that you could boost your score. So for example, if you're calculating the dim score for an outing, a sporting event or a concert or something, if there is not a safe way for you to get there and home, you cannot generate a dim score of 8 or greater. I've made sure of that.
Good.
So what does that mean? That means when you have this PDF summary, there is a glaring error because your parents are going to say, well, I mean, there's no safe way to get there and back. Well, of course you can't go. But what do you have? You have a conversation about, can you create a safe way to get there and back? Could somebody's parents drive you one way and somebody's parents drive you the other way? If you're old enough to take public transportation, could somebody's parents take you to, the GO station or the subway and then pick you up at the station when you get back? So what happens is when the score is lower than 8, really it's just meant to generate conversation to try to fill in those blanks. Okay,
that's good to know. Because I'm sure all the kids are looking at it like, okay, so I have to have an 8. So I'm going to answer these questions so I can get an 8. So I'm glad you're going to be back. That's okay. You don't have to answer it now then. You're going to be back in October 8th is the date. And we're going to go through this because this is a great foundational tool that all you kids can use as you are growing with your financial resources to figure out what your spending habits will be. And you can set a really good example for yourself from now with thinking before you buy, which I love, 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 love. So the next question that I did have though is, suppose you are not in Canada, can this tool be used anywhere?
It can be used anywhere. So in the rolling sales tax bar menu, we only have the United States and the Canadian provinces, the American states and the Canadian provinces, but we do have a custom sales tax field. So let's say, for example, you're in Sweden, where, by the way, in Sweden, they have a value added tax of 25%. Can you imagine adding 25% to the cost of everything? So if you bought something for $100, you need $125 to leave the store. So you would just go other country, custom, and enter in 25. So you can use it anywhere around the world. Anywhere you have access to the internet, we're accessible.
Perfect, because we do have kids that do join us from other countries, which is awesome. So good to know that this tool is usable anywhere that you are in the world. Perfect. Well, thank you, Miss Karen. That was amazing.
Thank you, Stacy and Mickey.
Mickey's gonna love this tool. Michael says, thank you, Miss Karen.
I can finally get my way.
She said she can finally get her way. We'll see. All right.
Okay, guys, have a great 3 weeks and I'll see you next month.
Yes. So you're going to stay on while we wrap up.
Okay.
You can stop sharing your screen and then to wrap up if you don't mind.
There we go.
So then my birthday is in,
Yeah, your birthday is soon.
but you said that's in 2 months.
What are you talking
Yeah,
about?
because September's 1 month and then October's 1 month. So that equals 2 months. Okay.
Okay, let's talk about your birthday app.
Semantics.
I know. Okay. Let's see. All right. So let's get to our question that we ask on every KiddieNomics webinar. What would happen if kids became more financially literate? And what's our answer?
Real change that impacts the world.
Real change that impacts the world. And why do we say this? It's because really, the more financially literate that you are, it doesn't matter what you want to be or what it is that you want to accomplish, you will have real impact in the world with more financial literacy, because it will help you get so much further ahead, right? So that's why we think that. All right, the other thing that we always say is, you guys are young financial literacy ambassadors. And what is an ambassador? An ambassador is an authorized messenger or representative. What does that mean? Is that you guys out there represent us. You guys represent the KiddieNomics community. You know, I love it. I hear from you kids directly. I hear from parents, and they'll come back and tell me, hey, did you know that Thomas was, you know, talking to his cousins about credit cards, and he was telling them all about how it works, and they're asking him, how do you know? And they're like, well, I learned it on KiddieNomics. And so we are so happy to hear that, because that's what we want you guys to do, is to keep on spreading your knowledge. Because the more financially literate you become, the more financially literate your parents will become, and your friends and your family and your whole community at large, right? So that's why you guys are our ambassadors out there. And plus, we like to say on KiddieNomics that knowledge is our
superpower.
Superpower, right? We all have superpowers. We think knowledge is our superpower. So we just ask you guys to share it, because the more that you share your superpower of knowledge that you've learned on KiddieNomics, really and truly, the stronger you will become. It is absolutely true. All right. Okay, let's get into the schedule. So coming up next week, we have Brittany Hardy. We're going to be talking about creating a social media campaign. So we've done a lot of entrepreneurial stuff on KiddieNomics, right? Like last week, we talked about how to create an online Shopify store, right? For all of our kiddiepreneurs out there. So there's several things that go into entrepreneurship, and social media is a huge part of that. And what you do want to do is know how to run a social media campaign for whatever it is that you want to launch. So whether or not it's a t-shirt line or a comic book, or I don't know, you guys are so creative, and you guys have all done different things. Or you want to start maybe like a babysitting business, whatever that is, you guys are going to need to know all about how to create a social media campaign. So Miss Brittany Hardy is going to be on next week, and she's going to talk to us about that. And then we're going to have Miss Siobhan Bent. She will be back on KiddieNomics on Friday, October 4th, and we're going to talk about mortgage cash flow. So we love to talk about real estate here on KiddieNomics, because real estate is such a very, very, very strong component of your wealth, overall wealth. And so we want to talk about, how do you get mortgage cash flow out of your properties that you may own, okay? So that's going to be on October 4th. And then, of course, we're going to have Miss Karen back on October 8th. So I'll add that to the list next week, okay? All right, so guess what? We always want to hear from you. I always want to know what you guys think. This program is for you. So I need to know, what else is it that you want to learn? Like, I come up with topics, but I want to hear from you. Like, what else is it that you want to learn, right? So if you can please send me an email, always with your parents' permission, at kiddienomics101@gmail.com. And just let me know if you guys have any ideas. I know you guys do share your ideas with me, but if there's any other ideas out there that, you know, you've said, hey, I wish I could learn this, let me know, and I'll find a guest expert to come on KiddieNomics and share that knowledge with you guys, okay? And of course, if you do like the stuff that you're learning on KiddieNomics, please like and follow us on
Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, and TikTok.
Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, and TikTok. Okay, so, and you guys can always use the hashtag KiddieNomics or Ask KiddieNomics, and I'll be there.
Wait, I have one question.
Yes.
Or you can use the hashtag cool Mickey.
Oh my gosh. No. Just the hashtag KiddieNomics. All right. So thank everybody for joining this week. Thank you, Miss Karen. You were
Thank you.
phenomenal. We so love your tool. Micah says thank you. Bye and have a wonderful week, everybody. Awesome. All right. So everybody have a good week. We'll see you next week and bye.
Can I exit out?
Let me see. Okay. Let's hang up here.